Hello. So while we are all quarantining at home, staying at home, practicing proper social distancing, I actually wanted to tell you all about my skull collection. Because, of course, why wouldn't I? So this is my coyote skull. It's actually not a real skull. I want to give that disclaimer. This is a model skull. The rest of the ones that I have are all real. This is a model of a coyote skull. Coyotes are actually more of a Western North America species. They've moved more into Eastern North America to take the ecological role that originally was played by wolves. So a little newer to the eastern part of our continent, but I particularly like coyotes. I think they're fascinating species. And they're also, in this particular case, a great example of predator teeth. So if we look here on this skull, I hope that's coming in clearly for you all and the camera's focusing on it. We all know if we've watched a vampire movie what these teeth are. These are the canines. These teeth here in the very front are the incisors. You can see these right there. Then here between the canine teeth and the next big chunk, we have the premolars. So these are the premolars right in here. And then this big tooth right here, this really nice big chomper, these are the carnassials. So they have a carnassial down here on the other side, up and above as well. And then in the back, that's where we have our molars. So we have our incisors, canines, premolars, carnassial, and our molars. Oh, enjoy those teeth. Another thing that I wanted to mention about my coyote skull. So they're a really good model of this handy little trick that I like to use if I find a skull outside and don't know exactly what it is. If you have no idea what a particular skull came from, if you just found one outside, a helpful little rhyme that you can use to get yourself started on thinking what it might be is this. Eyes in the front, I like to hunt. Eyes on the side, I like to hide. So you can start to narrow down your choices based on where the orbitals are. So the orbitals are this big open space where the eyeballs would normally sit. If you have a skull where the orbitals are facing front, so the eyes would have been facing front, you most likely have some sort of predator animal. If the eyes are on the side, though, like my prey animal here, who is wrapped in a terrible towel, because Pittsburgh, this animal is a deer, and it has eyes that are very much more so on the side of its head than my coyote because this was a prey animal. Now, the reason for this placement of eyes, let's say that I'm a lion on the savannah, and I'm hungry, and I see a zebra. I see a single animal right ahead. I'm zooming in on it. I'm focusing on it. I can pounce, sprint, jump, whatever my hunting style will be to follow. I'm looking right at that zebra, and I can focus in on it. If I'm that zebra, though, instead, I want to be able to see where those lions or that cheetah might be that could possibly come after me. Now, the way that I do that, though, isn't by constantly moving my head and looking around. It's by having eyes on the side of my head that let me be looking around all the time without having to turn my head. So, eyes in the front, I like to hunt. Eyes on the side, I like to hide. Aren't skulls fun? Also, in contrast to those teeth that I just showed you with my coyote, these teeth are much more adept at grinding up plant materials, which is more of what deer would eat. Although deer have been known to eat weird things like eggs, like bird eggs, if they find them, or on occasion some insects. Nature's really good at exceptions, so there's general guidelines, but there's not always hard and fast rules about something. What skull do I want to show you next? Ooh, actually, so we were talking about that eyes in the front, I like to hunt, eyes on the side, I like to hide. What if you have an omnivore? So this is a raccoon. They can eat plant materials. They can act as predators. And they also have slightly more predator teeth. So they're not just straight up eating berries and leaves all day. They can eat small mammals if they have to. Although what raccoons are more likely to go after are easy finds. Raccoons are pretty smart animals. They like to work smarter, not necessarily harder. So when we leave a buffet out for them on our street corners every week when we put our trash out, why bother spending all that energy hunting when you could just come to this glorious feast that every house seems to have in front of it? And that's how raccoons got their nickname, the trash pandas. But raccoons are actually really good problem solvers. So one, they see trash and they think, well, that's much less energy to dig into that trash can than it would be to actually track down and forage for food. But the other thing is, even when we put locks on our trash cans, they're very good problem solvers. So raccoons have learned how to pick locks. They've displayed very good skills doing water displacement tests, which are like the Aesop's fable. The crow drops in rocks into a pitcher of water so that a treat that was originally on the bottom of a pitcher of water can rise up to the top. Raccoons are really good at lab tests like that. They actually sometimes outsmart their animal behavior scientists because they learn to cheat on those cognition tests. So sometimes it's a little hard to measure how smart they are. But even the name raccoon originally was derived from a Powhatan word that means he scratches with his hands, which is a reference to the fact that they're very dexterous with those little forepaws. So if you combine the fact that they have a decent little mind working for them, and they're very dexterous with their paws, raccoons have been really good at survival, which is probably why they've blended in with our neighborhoods so well. They've adapted to human life, urban life. So we may find them a nuisance, but they're pretty cool. And actually, I want to compare, while I've got this guy, okay, here we go. I want to compare his brain capacity, his cranial capacity, to my other friend, the possum. Now, let me give this disclaimer. All animals are as smart as they need to be. Everybody can do exactly what they need to do to survive in their ecological niche. And I also don't want to imply that a bigger brain automatically guarantees more intelligence, because that's not the case. But if we compare our raccoon brain size with the brain size of a possum, who do you think is probably the animal that's a little better at problem solving? That's this guy. But possums are actually a really cool animal in and of themselves as well. And part of the reason behind that, if you notice, possums have this interesting bump here on the top of their skull. And that is called a sagittal crest. If you feel the top of your skull right now, I hope it's smooth. It should be smooth. It should be flat. You shouldn't have a large domed bump like this. That sagittal crest is actually for helping to connect to jaw muscles. So if you feel the side of your face, or you can even pull a Home Alone, you can feel your own jaw muscles moving your jaw up and down. But possums, on the other hand, they can pack such a powerful bite that they actually have to have this ridge to hold all of their jaw muscles in place. So just as a comparison, possums weigh about 8 to 13 pounds, but they have a bite force of about 45 pounds per square inch. Humans, on the other hand, we have a bite force of about 160 pounds per square inch. So obviously our bite is stronger, we're larger animals, but the average human adult is somewhere in the mid 150 pound range. Of course, me as a 100 and something pound person, it makes sense that I have a bite force of about 160 pounds. These guys, though, again, they're only like 8 to 14 pounds. So if you think that they can bite with 45 pounds per square inch, they're packing a punch that is a lot more than their body weight. So beware. But honestly, though, possums are our friends. They're very important in their ecological niches. So if you see a possum, even if it hisses at you, just give it some space. You'll be fine. They're doing a lot of important work just being possums. Let's see. What else do I have? Ooh. In my butter tub is a skull that I'm going to be very careful with it because I've actually already broken it. Mm-hmm. So there we go. This is my crow skull. You can see I did already nick its skull a little bit when I first got it. Birds do have very lightweight bones because they have to be able to fly. So that's part of why I'm holding this very gingerly. I don't want to break it further. Although I shouldn't say that birds are super fragile creatures. They can do exactly what they need to be able to do. But their bones do make them very lightweight. So if you look at a bald eagle that has a 6.5, 7 foot wingspan, they only actually weigh about as much as a gallon of milk. So even though these birds look huge, and sometimes I've asked people how much they think bald eagles weigh, and they'll say 30 to 40 pounds. Ugh, they wouldn't be able to fly that way. They only weigh something more like 8 pounds, 9 pounds. I say about a gallon of milk is about all you're getting out of a bald eagle. But their skeletons are perfectly adapted for flight because they're nice and lightweight. I have one other, I forgot, bonus skull. I have no idea what it is though. So I found this skull. Again, I'm going to hold it very gingerly. It's another bird skull. Let me hold it a little closer so you can see it. I got this one out of a owl pellet. I believe it was an owl pellet from a barn owl. So an owl pellet are all the remains of an owl's meal that they could not digest. So any bones, fur, or feathers that they can't digest instead of sending that through their digestive tract, they kind of pack it all up into a nice little chunk and puke it out for you into the form of a nice little owl pellet. This skull came out of an owl pellet. As I say, I don't know what it is, but it's cool. And I had one more bonus that I wanted to show you with, so possum skull. Possum poop. Well, it's a model of poop. And I am the kind of weirdo who looks up models of scat, as it would be called, to purchase just for my own, sense of being interested in things. Well, I hope while you are in quarantine, you got a chance to learn a couple fun facts, or you learned that Maria's even weirder than you thought she was. Either way, it's a good afternoon, good way to spend your Saturday. So I hope you enjoy exploring the outdoors. Even if you are trying to stay at home and social distance, you can still go outside, appreciate the natural wonders, appreciate creation, and stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you all later. Bye.